You're sitting at the table when the tattoo appears. Everyone reacts faster than the moment itself. And you suddenly realize your attention is going somewhere else entirely. Imagine yourself leaning slightly on a hard wooden chair. The dim restaurant lights reflect off the cold condensation on your glass. Right then, the person across from you pulls up their sleeve. A new tattoo, still a bit red under the skin. It's not that you don't care. You just don't have the same reaction as everyone else. You notice it the second the whole table lets out a collective, "Oh." A part of you is quietly observing your own reaction instead of the ink. There is a very specific reason your brain processes this moment differently. It's not about a general personality trait, and it's not just because you're the quiet one. It's a decision-making mechanism that's been running in the background, long before this moment even happened. If you've ever found yourself standing outside the group's reaction like that, this is going to start making sense. And it doesn't start with the tattoo. It starts with how you scan the room in the very first 3 seconds. Imagine you're sitting with a group of friends. Someone suddenly pulls up their sleeve, revealing a fresh tattoo, still slightly red. The whole table leans in. But you? You're different. While they're looking at the ink, you find yourself instinctively scanning the faces around the room. Why is everyone reacting more than I am? The truth is, your brain isn't focused on the tattoo. It's busy tracking the crowd to locate the social norm. You're not missing the moment. You're observing how the world receives it. But this is what makes you look cold, or out of sync with the rest of the room. You aren't reacting to the tattoo, you're reacting to how everyone else is reacting. This is where your attention actually goes first. But the real difference starts before the tattoo even matters. When everyone starts debating whether the tattoo is good or bad, you find yourself watching something else entirely. While they're obsessed with the colors and the lines, you're quietly tracking who makes a judgment first and who is still hesitating. Your brain has automatically shifted. It no longer cares about the content of the conversation. Instead, it's analyzing the process of the decision. In this moment, you feel detached from the group's collective emotion. A thought crosses your mind. I'm not inside this moment. I'm outside watching it happen. You stop reacting to what people choose. Instead, you start reacting to how they choose. And this silent shift is about to change every decision you make in the future. When someone asks if you want to get a tattoo, you don't just think about whether you like it right now. Instead, your mind immediately flashes forward 10 years. You wonder how you'll feel about that mark when time has passed. Will I still agree with this version of myself later? In reality, your brain is running a future simulation to test the stability of your choice. While most people decide based on a fleeting emotion, you're busy negotiating with your future self. You aren't choosing for today. You're pre-living tomorrow. This slows down your decision-making, but it increases your certainty. It completely redefines what a simple choice even means. But this strength hides a subtle distortion you haven't noticed yet. It's not about tattoos anymore. Actually, it never was. This mechanism starts to seep into every corner of your life. From choosing a career or a place to live to something as simple as your usual order at a restaurant. Everything takes longer to decide. Why? Because your brain is silently linking every choice to a fixed version of yourself. Small decisions start doing heavy lifting they weren't meant for. A thought creeps in. Even this might define me too much. Small choices stop being small. They start feeling permanent, even before they've actually happened. And that is where the real tension appears. You stand before a decision. No one is pushing you, and there's no external pressure. But still, you pause for far too long. The truth is, your brain is confusing caution with an attempt to avoid commitment. Careful thinking looks identical to hesitation from the outside until you actually strip it down. Opportunities get delayed for no clear reason. A question starts to emerge. Am I being careful or just delaying closure? Same behavior, but a completely different route. And only one of them actually moves you forward. That is where clarity finally cuts through the noise. You stay silent before a simple decision, but deep inside, multiple versions of yourself are in a heated debate. This isn't indecision. This is multi-version thinking. Your brain is running future simulations in parallel, searching for the version with the least regret. You aren't choosing what you want right now. You're choosing who you might become. The cost is that sometimes the vividness of the present moment starts to blur. But remember, you aren't slow. You are parallel processing your own life. And that has consequences most people never notice. Until one question appears and breaks everything wide open. Are you choosing carefully, or are you avoiding becoming one version of yourself? As you look back at the choices you've avoided and the ones you've finally made, you begin to see a different truth. Your brain starts to realize that consistency doesn't have to come from external signs. You no longer feel the need to prove who you are through symbols or labels. No ink, no loud signals. And yet, a distinct pattern remains. The meaning of your life doesn't need to exist on the surface. You realize, I've always been here. I just don't need to be visible all the time. This understanding changes everything about how you define your identity. It was never really about the tattoos. It was about how your mind tests every decision against versions of yourself that don't even exist yet. That testing has quietly replaced your impulses with a constant stream of simulations. You aren't just a person who doesn't get tattoos. You're someone who refuses to fully commit to a version of yourself without running it through the lens of time first. You don't avoid permanence. You simply preview the consequences before they ever become real. Notice what you hesitate on the most. Not the big, life-changing decisions, but the small ones that you overthink for no clear reason. That pattern usually says more about who you are than the decision itself. If this way of thinking feels familiar, there's so much more we can break down together. No pressure. Just keep watching if it helps you see yourself a little clearer. Just remember, some decisions don't feel heavy because they matter. They feel heavy because your mind has arrived there too early.